This is the Mooncast. Welcome to the Mooncast. Now we have a jam-packed episode today. We're going to be talking about BRICS and about crypto grants and a plethora of other different topics. I don't want to waste any more of your time, so let's just jump right into it. So, Iran and Saudi Arabia are among 6 nations set to join China and Russia in the BRICS economic bloc, right? And so when we scroll down here, we can see in this article, it continues on to read, it says the 6 countries invited, it says Iran and Saudi Arabia were among the 6 countries invited Thursday to join the BRICS bloc of developing economies, right? In a move that showed signs of strengthening in China, in China-Russia coalition as tensions with the West spiral higher, right? And so the article goes on to read, it talks about the United Emirates, Argentina, Egypt, Ethiopia were also set to enter BRICS from January 1st, 2024, guys. So this is happening now. I've been talking about BRICS for a while now. I may go ahead and drop another small video of something that I did on my YouTube channel trying to break down BRICS and CBDCs and Bitcoin, how it all plays in together. But I've been talking about this for a while and how this is just the beginning of the snowball effect, right? Of a whole bunch of countries joining BRICS and collectively together being able to have the majority of the GDP and market share in the world and being able to leverage that to create a stronger payment system than what's currently now out with the SWIFT banking system, right? And so the article goes on to read, it says, joining current members of obviously Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa to make an 11-nation bloc, right? So super important, guys. Super important as things continue to transpire. And the article goes on, it says the announcement came after 2 days of talks at the summit of Johannesburg involving Brazil President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva, Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi, Chinese President Xi Jinping, and South African President Cyril Ramaphosa. Russian President Vladimir Putin participated in the discussions virtually after his travel to the summit was complicated by an International Criminal Court arrest warrant issued against him over the war in Ukraine, right? So Putin welcomed the 6 countries by video link. He did not mention Wednesday's plane crash that left Russian mercenary chief Yevgeny Prigozhin and some of his top lieutenants presumed dead, right? And so this is, again, super important, guys, that Putin is still, even though BRICS they're all working cohesively together to create this new payment mechanism, which, again, what I'll get to in a little bit, too, in the next article that I'm going to get to. But it's a little bit strange to me that Putin is still unable to travel and feel comfortable to be able to travel to one of his neighboring friendlies, right, to be able to orchestrate this sort of summit, right? He had to do it virtually. So it still seems to me that there's still a lack of trust within the entire BRICS nations, but I think it can be overridden by the number of countries that want to go ahead and attend. I think it's over 60 countries that want to attend, and I think 20 are considering joining or on the wait list, right? If I can recollect from my memory, but it is very interesting to see that. But anyways, we can move on here and we can talk a little bit about what the article says. It goes on to read, it says, while there has been momentum for BRICS expansion for months, pushed largely by China and Russia, the 5 leaders were locked in closed-door discussions for 2 days, Tuesday and Wednesday, before emerging with an agreement on expanding and a list of countries on the last day of the summit. BRICS is a consensus-based organization that needs all members to agree on decisions. Wow. So it needs 100% consensus to be able to have people to agree, I think. If that's what I'm reading correctly, that would be very, very hard to do. But anyways, the article goes on to read. It says the bloc was formed by Brazil, Russia, India, and China in 2009 and added South Africa in 2010, making Thursday's announcement in the heart of Johannesburg high-rise Sandton Financial District its most significant decision in more than a decade. Mohammed Jamshidi, the political deputy of Iran President Ibrahim Razi, called joining BRICS a strategic victory for Iran's foreign policy. And it goes on to read, it says here, Razi attended the summit, as did the Saudi Arabia Foreign Minister Prince Faisal bin Farhan, right, who said the oil-rich kingdom could be a leader of the bloc, given its resources, wealth, and access to the Red Sea and Persian Gulf, right? Super important moving forward, right? And so, however, in a twist, Saudi Arabia's membership appeared uncertain after Prince Faisal told the Saudi-owned broadcaster Al Arabiya later Thursday that the kingdom appreciated the invitation, but would first study the details before proposed January 1st joining date and take appropriate decision making, right? BRICS currently represents around 40% of the world population and more than a quarter of the world's GDP, with that set to increase, right, as more countries continue to add on, right? I'm projecting around 80% of the global GDP will be all in BRICS. By the time this is all said and done, I am going to be writing a cohesive paper about it, and with BRICS in conjunction with the middle class squeeze. I'm calling it the Great Squeeze. But moving forward, the article goes on to read, it says the potential new members include 3 of the world's largest oil producers in Saudi Arabia and the UAE and Iran, right? Why is that important? That's important because if you understand the entire mechanism of what the dollar is backed by currently, it's kind of backed by oil, right? When you look at it, it's backed by the petrodollar. So people need to, because they made an agreement with Saudi Arabia, I think it was in the 70s, if I'm not mistaken. But anyways, they made an agreement with Saudi Arabia stating that for them to trade their oil, they need to use dollars, and for anyone for import and exporting of the oil, people need to use dollars, right? And this created the petrodollar system, and in conjunction or in reciprocation, they would help protect them using the military, right? The U.S. would help protect Saudi Arabia with the military, and so basically we create this petrodollar system in which people need dollars to be able to get oil, and oil is very important because if you guys don't know, I think it's 70 or 80% of transport is done through ships, right? Which need oil, and if ships need oil, and you need dollars to get the oil, then that creates a demand for the dollar, and it also can be manipulated, right? In regards to, say you don't have enough dollars, it just creates this circle of demand for dollars, right? That's the important thing that you need to know. And the oil, again, is super important because if they, for instance, were to impose some kind of embargo or something like this on the U.S. or on other Western countries in reversal of what the Western countries have been doing to these other nations in terms of sanctions and embargoes and stuff, well, like I said, oil it ties into the ships, right? And so if oil is expensive, then the ships need to pay more for the oil, which means they need to charge more for the importers and exporters to load up their goods and services into the ships. And if that's the case, then goods and services would then increase in price to the end user to make up for the difference in loss that they have to pay now the ships a premium because the oil is more expensive, and it causes this spiral effect of inflation, right? And if that's the case, the middle class will get squeezed even more, right? In the West specifically, because if you look at these nations, they're not Western nations, right? These nations are in the Middle East and developing nations, right? So it's very, very interesting to see them trying to take control of that and take control of the petrodollar. So people stop trading in the petrodollar. Then what is the use of then the dollar? Why would they have it in their reserves as they need it to trade for oil? But if they no longer need to trade for oil, then why would they need to hold it in their reserves? And also, especially if they can get sanctioned, as we saw with what the States did to Russia, then we can maybe make an assumption that potentially they would dump the dollars on the market, right? And this is something that I've been kind of predicting for a while now, that I think that there could be a potential mass dumping of the dollar. And what happens when all those dollars come back into the US in circulation? Well, then hyperinflation will ensue, right? When you have so much influx of dollars that are not in reserves in the open market, right? And yeah, that's how I think BRICS plans to slowly grind away to get this done, so that would be the potential end goal. No demand for dollars, people dump dollars, more supply of dollars within the current economy would then increase the inflation to cause potential hyperinflation and to eventually dump the dollars back into the ecosystem to eventually crash the United States, right? And that's the entire point. But let's move on to what the article continues to say. So it says, this membership expansion is historic, Chinese leader Xi said. It shows the determination of BRICS countries for unity and development. Over the years, China has stood in solidarity with developing countries through thick and thin. Saudi Arabia and UAE might provide new capital for BRICS' new development bank. However, economists also noted that Argentina and Egypt are International Monetary Fund's two biggest debtors and have required bailouts. This is interesting as hell because, yeah, Argentina, they did just get a bailout from the IMF, but part of that bailout agreement was that they wouldn't use Bitcoin, or something in regards to they can't use Bitcoin, right? So I'm just trying to a little bit put the pieces together, the puzzle together for you guys, because it just hit me now with the light bulb. And also Egypt too as well, they're facing like hyperinflation. I think their currency is inflating at like 50% every year or something ridiculous like that. I think Argentina just raised their interest rates to 119%, if I'm not mistaken, right? So it is very interesting, these two countries that are also joining. And especially because Argentina just got a bailout from the IMF in dollars. So we'll see how that continues to transpire, and how that story ends up with Argentina. And yeah, so the article goes on to read. It says Ethiopia, Africa's second most populous country with 120 million people, has been at odds with the US and European Union over the criticism of the recent conflict in the country's Tigray region, right? Argentinian President Alberto Fernandez said that joining BRICS was a new opportunity that strengthens us. BRICS has a stated aim to amplify the voice of the global South. All 5 current members and dozens of other developing countries represented at the summit repeatedly called this week for a fairer world order and the reform of international institutions like the United States or United Nations and IMF and the World Bank, right? So yeah, these elitist sort of organizations, they want sort of a reformation of them, right? And so this is kind of their way to clap back at the reality that these is not going to happen. I think it just needs to have an opposing organization, and also competition, increases competition, right? So people can get a chance to choose what they want their reserve currency to be and what they want their settlement to be for payments in regards to major commodities like gold, oil, silver, and stuff like this. So it's very interesting. And so the article goes on to read. It says many in the developing world view those institutions as Western-led and unfair to them, and a stream of leaders made speeches Thursday calling for change. While that sentiment and challenging the current international order is useful for China and Russia's geopolitical aims, UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres said in a speech to BRICS summit that the calls for reform were valid. He quoted figures that said on average African countries pay 4 times more for borrowing from international financial institutions than the United States, and 8 times more than the wealthiest European countries. Crazy. So, as you guys know, Africa has been exploited just for too long. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous the rates that they get versus the rates that everyone else gets. So it's just really unfair. And also imagine what that does with stifling growth, right? Because when you can borrow cheaply, well, you can increase, grants, you can increase government goods and services, you can increase pensions, you can increase all the different public goods and services the government can offer, within an economy, right? When debt is super cheap, you can also help. It also helps with businesses, right? Not just the government, because the businesses can scale quicker. They can, introduce different types of initiatives, to get more people hired within the local economy, right? And to get people more skilled labor and more skilled tasks. And yeah, cheap debt is super, super valuable within economies, right? We see now going on with the debt not being cheap. You see banks starting to crash because they over leverage, operating on 2% liquidity. You see the situation going on with businesses too as well, with the layoffs, it's going on not just in the tech industry, but overall, because debt isn't cheap, so they can't really scale and they can't offset their tax with the debt that they borrow. So the employee pays the brunt of that, in regards to losing their job and so on, right? So anyways, the article continues. It says, redesigning today's outdated, dysfunctional, and unfair global financial architecture is necessary, but it won't happen overnight, Guterres said. Yet we can and must take practical action now. More than 20 countries had formally applied to join BRICS ahead of the Johannesburg summit, and more than 20 others had expressed interest, indicating how the bloc might resonate with many as an alternative, right? So I was wrong about that. I said I think it's up to 60 in total. They're looking at least to come, but it's 20 countries that have formally applied, and it says that another 20 more that expressed interest. So 40 with the 6 plus the other 6 that are already in BRICS. So it's roughly around 52, right, in total that could potentially be added on in total, of BRICS, which is, it's crazy. It's crazy. So moving on, this article says, South African officials pushed back against characterizations that BRICS was taking an anti-West turn under the influence of China and Russia. Putin and Xi laced their speeches with criticism of the U.S. and its allies earlier in the summit, although Xi did also call for a lowering of temperature in reference to geopolitical climate, right? And so, yeah, it's just very, very interesting an article, right? And it goes on to read, because before we go on to read, right, it's interesting because it almost seems like not all the thought processes are aligning. I think Russia and China are really trying to attack the U.S., whereas a lot of the other countries are maybe taking more of a cordial approach, a more careful approach in regards to how they want to handle BRICS, right? And this is what it appears to be like in regards to what I think that they're trying to play not really both ends of the fence, but they're just trying to be very, very cautious, especially if you look at Argentina and Egypt. I mean, those countries, they've taken money from the IMF, if I'm not mistaken. I know Argentina has for sure. And so there's still a little bit ties and also austerity measures that they need to take into consideration, because they are in debt to the IMF, and so I think some of the countries are kind of working a little bit more cautiously, and also they don't know how the whole thing's going to blow up and how it's going to look in the future exactly. My thesis has always been that China and Russia won't control BRICS. I think that all the countries will work cohesively together and have an independent organization that sort of handles decisions and gets voted on who becomes a new member every 4 years, 8 years, or whatever the case may be. Similar to like the ECB, right? I think Christine Lagarde is now head of the ECB, and I think they'll have some sort of thing like the BRICS organization type of situation, right? And basically they'll have different leaders, within the circular aspect of elections, right? And based off of these leaders, they'll be able to make the right decisions in terms of the monetary and fiscal policies of BRICS, right? And it'll work somewhere similar like the EU and the Eurozone, the Schengen area. They'll have something similar like this. This is how I think it's going to work. It's not going to work with this Russia and China duopolizing everything. It won't work like that. And so, anyways, the article goes on to read, says Putin used a 17-minute pre-recorded address on the opening day of the meetings to lash out at the West over the financial sanctions imposed on Russia as punishment for its invasion of Ukraine. Yeah, I find this super interesting because if you really look at it and break it down, Russia didn't really lose because they're still selling to the West indirectly through India and Turkey, right? In regards to the oil, right? So the EU, the Europe is still getting, the oil. They're just getting it through, Turkey and India. And so I just think it didn't work overall with the sanctions. Some would argue maybe it even made Russia a bit even stronger in that regard. But anyways, we can go on and continue. The expansion of BRICS also appears to expand China and Russia's sphere of influence, especially in the Persian Gulf. While Saudi Arabia has been touted as likely new member, Iran's inclusion wasn't expected in the end. 3 Gulf nations were in line to possibly join. Until recently, the inclusion of Iran, Saudi Arabia, and UAE together in the same economic political organization would have been unthinkable as tensions escalated following the collapse of Tehran's 2015 nuclear deal. But UAE became the first to re-engage diplomatically with Iran and Saudi Arabia, and Iran announced they had reached a separate detente in March, notably with the help of Chinese mediation, right? So the Chinese actually helped to mitigate this entire diplomatic situation going on between Saudi Arabia, Iran, and UAE. So which is really, really cool that they were able to do that while the U.S. wasn't able to do that, right? So that's a win for China, in that regard, right? So it also says China has recently pushed for more of a presence in the Gulf and has sought closer relations with all 3 nations, particularly Iran, from which it has imported oil. So they're becoming customers, right, of each other, of one another, which is, increasing diplomatic relations between them, right? And so the article goes on to read, it says Saudi Arabia and UAE have also maintained relations with Russia amid the war on Ukraine, which is interesting, annoying the U.S., which has long provided security guarantees for the majority of oil producing nations, right? Meaning the military, as I kind of previously explained, right? And so the article again goes on to read, says the U.S. and its Western allies clashed with Russia and Iran at the UN Security Council last month over Tehran's uranium enrichment and its reported supply of combat drones to Russia that are being used to attack Ukraine. Fascinating, right? So that's pretty much it for this particular article. So let's move on to the next piece of news. So I want to talk a bit about the new international payment system, the BRICS Plus, and its BRICS Pay, right? And so this is a very, very interesting white paper, right? And it's a white paper presentation that I was able to get online to kind of break down what BRICS is planning in regards to becoming that new settlement layer of payments on a global scale, similar to like SWIFT. And so this article, or this white paper presentation, however you want to call it, it goes on to talk about BRICS being sort of that main location where the transactions will happen, and it'll be just the main hub, the main transactional hub for all the different international transactions amongst the BRICS nations, right? So you look and you see you have Africa, you have Latin America, you have Asia, you have all these different subcomponents, these banks and all these things intertwining, but it's all leading back to the main hub, which is the BRICS Pay, right? And being able to formulate all the transactions through their own routing in cloud and their own systems, right? And so they're building out the entire payment infrastructure to be able to facilitate these transactions across all the nations within BRICS, right? And so when we scroll down here, and we can see the development of the new international payment system project was highlighted by the heads of BRICS Business Council national chapters among the priority items of common interest where the progress has been achieved. NIPS, initiative has been championed by Council along a few others of presentation of the annual report of the BRICS leaders at the 10th summit, right? So we scroll down here, we can see NIPS, right? Router cloud, right? And you can see it's a new unit of account, right? That they're basically trying to build. And you can see all the different components within it. You see the Brazil, the Russia, the India, South Africa, and the China, all routed within this router cloud ecosystem, right? And so when you scroll down here and you see the SDR basket, right? The special drawing rights basket may be taken for a basis. So you see here this is the Western SDR basket on the left side, right? And for those who can't really see or don't you can check this out too as well on my YouTube channel. If you guys want to get a little bit of a visual depiction of what I'm talking about too as well. But you can see here, it's talking about the SDR basket of all the major Western countries in this basket, right? You're talking about the EU, you're talking about China, you're talking about the United Kingdom, Japan, and the United States. And in the tentative basket of the new unit of account, right? And so the exchange rate will be calculated in real time, right? And it can include national currencies of all BRICS countries, right? So it's literally a basket of all the different countries within BRICS to be able to come up with this new unit of account, right? So you see here, it's every single country that would be hypothetically within the entire BRICS nations, right? And it says exemplary contents of the e-wallet for the use in NIPS BRICS Pay transactions, right? So instead of using the Visa and MasterCard and all this stuff, they also have here, you can see the Alipay and all these different types of payment mechanisms too as well that would be associated with BRICS. I don't think they'll be using Visa and MasterCard, and this article is a little bit older due to the sanctions now imposed on Russia. I think that they would try to actually exclude Visa and MasterCard from being able to transact within this ecosystem or being able to be used as payment facilitators within this ecosystem, right? And when you scroll down here, and it says NIPS BRICS Pay System main components, right? You can see the private users and the point of sales, right? The retail segment, right? The private users and the point of sales is here, and it has the NIPS processing infrastructure, right? Which then goes to anchor banks and partner financial institutions of BRICS countries, right? So it goes literally from the retail management all the way to distributed processing centers, right? Which then route it back to the major banks within the BRICS ecosystem, right? And that's basically how it would work, these payment processors, right? And the main system components, right? And we scroll down here, you see sample pilot transaction. A tourist from one BRICS country makes a purchase in another. So as you can see, the tourist private NIPS user, he tries to make a transaction, and it goes from the merchant, which is the point of sale processing center in the country of destination, right? Again, and the routes all the way down to the national processing center, to tourist home bank, and so on and so forth, right? And then back over to the partner bank in the country of destination, right? And so that's kind of how it would be routed. I think it would be rerouted a little bit differently now, because I think they are adding as an extension CBDCs to this sort of implementation of the routing and how everything would work. I think it would maybe just simplify things if people would just have the digital IDs as well as the CBDC in conjunction with that, right? Because you link the CBDC to the digital IDs, and then you not only have a digital identifier, but then you're able to also see the payments going in real time in the open ledger, right? And so that's kind of how I see it in my forecast, right? And so they even have demos out too as well, and people purchasing and so on and so forth. And then it has prospects of the NIPS project further development. So you see a multilateral financial institution, and they have the point of sale and the ATMs, and it goes over to the banks and other financial institutions, which goes into the NIP entry points. So basically, it's just kind of facilitating all the different components here. And it says there's a possibility as well for quantum communication, right? So and ground stations for information transmission, processing, and storage, right? So BRICS Pay. Let's get over to BRICS Pay. And BRICS Pay is an international payment system offering to the participating banks and other financial institutions' internet and mobile banking platform in cloud format, right? BRICS Pay internet system allows the user to manage his account 24 hours a day from any computer or mobile device to pay for various services and commodities, to transfer funds, pay taxes, and a lot of other things. The participating banks and other financial entities receiving a developed functionality of payment services for their customers, as well as the ability to accept online payments to merchants with whom they have signed contracts from any customers participating in the system. So basically, if you're not in the system, it's just much harder for you to be able to receive and to get outgoings too as well, right? And so the BRICS Pay goes on to read, it says the payment service built on the blockchain technology, right? So they are going to be using CBDC, right? For making settlements using digital financial assets, right? So BRICS tokens, NSRB, and digital currencies of BRICS countries when paying for goods and services in online and retail trade in the legal field of BRICS, BRICS Plus, and the Eurasian Economic Union countries, right? The BRICS Pay system integrates a wallet for digital cryptocurrencies of the BRICS countries and fiat accounts. It is able to combine accounts of different blockchain networks as well as open accounts in different banks. This allows you to easily manage your funds quickly and safely pay for goods and services by any available means, including making transfers between BRICS and BRICS Plus countries. So the BRICS Plus countries will probably be the countries outside of the major 5 countries within BRICS, right? I said it was 6, but it's actually 5 countries within BRICS. It's the Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, right? And so what it looks like is they're creating a major centralized hub, which will be the main CBDC routing area, right? The main hub. And then they'll have interoperability solutions that connect to that major hub, similar to kind of something like the Cosmos, right? Where the fiat currencies will switch. The BRICS fiat currencies that each individual country has, they'll still have the sovereign nations, individual countries will have their own cryptocurrencies too as well, but they can all connect to the BRICS Pay, right? And that's sort of the main element, to keep your sovereignty, but still be able to all connect with the BRICS Pay and also have a unit of account where you have a basket of different cryptocurrencies together to formulate one major unit of account that people can exchange for and agree upon, right? And so it's sort of like, it's very similar to the Cosmos in terms of the interoperability and how they plan to use it. And also it looks like they're going to make it seamless to be able to open up bank accounts within anyone within the BRICS ecosystem. Similar to kind of crypto, you can just kind of open up a crypto wallet for a different cryptocurrency network or layer 1. In the same sense, you'll be able to potentially open up a new crypto, but it's, CBDC crypto, right? Central bank digital currency from another country account. And you'll be able to send money from an account from, let's say, China to Russia seamlessly through the routing system of the BRICS Pay, right? And that's basically what I understood from that, right? And the article goes on to read, it says users from different countries of the Commonwealth will be able to instantly exchange one national digital currency for another through the BRICS Pay application, exactly how I just explained it, right? It says exactly what's going on. And for example, exchange digital yuan for digital real, which is the Brazilian digital currency, right? And it says in this operation, the NSRB token in the form of a stable coin. So one NSRB equals 100 USD. In this example will be a gateway between CBDC's digital currencies of central banks of the BRICS countries. For example, one counterparty for fiat currency buys NSRB tokens in the BRICS Pay system and transfers them to another counterparty. Another counterparty almost instantly receives NSRB tokens on his wallet with the possibility of converting them into CBDCs of the BRICS countries. So that's basically how they're using it. They have like one mediation token that is able to transfer within that token will be the interoperability solution basically within BRICS, and it'll be able to transfer the value anywhere within anyone that's within the BRICS Pay ecosystem, right? And so when that token lands into your wallet, you can then swap it out to whatever CBDC that you want. Similar to kind of like how I kind of broke down in my research group, Bitcoin, right? I think Bitcoin can be used as an interoperability solution for the payment service providers that we have currently now. If you look at PayPal, for instance, versus Cash App versus Venmo, versus all the different local financial payment solutions that are within the confines of different countries, Bitcoin can be the mediation, meaning that you can't, for instance, if I have a PayPal account and you have a Cash App account, I can't send you the USD value from my PayPal account to your Cash App account. Either I have to get a Cash App account or you have to get a PayPal account for us to exchange PayPal to PayPal value. But if all of the payment providers adopt Bitcoin, which is what they're doing now, they're all adopting Bitcoin as the Bitcoin network in the underlying, in the back end, right, of their software. What that means, they have a public address, right, that you can then send the Bitcoin to, and then you can swap it for the actual currency that you need. So basically, I can have Bitcoin in my PayPal account, and then you have a public address, a Bitcoin public address in your Cash App account, and I can send you the Bitcoin. You could swap it then to USD. In this same scenario, the NSRB token will be that sort of mediation token where everyone has it, and you just basically swap to NSRB, send it to a particular e-wallet, and then you can swap it into whatever currency, whatever CBDC, right, within the confines of your country. And that's basically how it would work. That's the best way to describe it. So when you scroll down here and you see the proposed CBDC transaction structure, right, you can see, so it says here, it showcases and you can see here all the different CBDC countries, right, or the BRICS countries, and it's just basically showing the interoperability solution with the NSRT BRICS token being the mediation, like I just kind of basically discussed, and how basically you can send your tokens to the NSRT BRICS token, and then with that, again, you can send it to anywhere within the BRICS ecosystem to then swap into whatever CBDC that's designated within the confines of your jurisdiction, right? And so the article goes on to read, through the BRICS Pay system, it will be possible to exchange one fiat currency for another, while the NSRB token in the form of a stablecoin will be the gateway between fiat currencies, as I just stated. And so we don't need to read much of that. It says BRICS Pay integrates freely into the POS, meaning the point of sale systems of stores, provides absolutely clear and standard sales logic, which is now widely used in retail. The buyer will only need to provide his QR code when paying at the checkout. When paying in online stores, the buyer will need to select a wallet, scan the purchase ID in the form of a QR code from the monitor screen, and confirm the payment to the seller. This ecosystem is planned to be used in the marketplace in the new Silk Road BRICS global IT platform. Very, very crucial news right there, right? So it says the BRICS Pay platform is being developed by the initiative group, ready to be formalized into a management company with the purpose to prepare its pilot operations at the earliest convenience. Joy's platform and New Silk Road BRICS are working on this project, right? So from my understanding, they're almost done, or they're pretty much done with the BRICS Pay, right? So I think it's at its final stages if it's not already released in the beta, right? But anyways, the Joy's digital. Let's just continue this article, right? So I'm almost finished with this article, guys, and then we can get into some of the grants that you can get from crypto and stuff like that. So I just finished a little bit of these news, get a little bit to the Grayscale news, and then we can just we can go on from there. Yeah. So This goes on to read. It says, Joyce is a payment service provider on the blockchain platform that allows to add almost any digital financial asset and token as a legal means of payment for purchase in all countries, right? Wow. So this is another sort of a payment solution to be able, for people, I guess, that are outside with the BRICS system, right? So the key features is legalize the turnover of cryptocurrency assets, allowed to use any digital financial assets, ready product, huge potential for scaling, unique solution for digital market advantage. It says here, own independent infrastructure in more than 30 countries, beneficial for customer stores, insurers, real estate developers, brokers, etc. Suitable for any projects with their own digital assets, doesn't require special hardware or software in stores, right, to be able to integrate it. So it makes it easy to be able to integrate this. And New Silk Road BRICS platform. So the New Silk Road BRICS platform is a part of the global freight exchange and global trading platform created under the auspices. Okay. Anyways, so it goes on to read, it says BRICS Transport Association, BRICS Energy Association, blah, 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 blah. We don't need to know any of that. And it says the BRICS based on decisions of the leaders of the states of China, Russia, South Africa, and Brazil. And blah, blah, talks about the memorandum. So we can go on here. But the new Silk Road BRICS platform. So they'll have a strategic CBDC trading platform as well. So it says at the moment, this is the first trade and logistics platform in the world supported by specialized structures of such a high international and supranational level where CBDC, central bank digital currencies, BRICS countries, and digital tokens will be used in real foreign trade transactions, right? So they're trying to create this sort of trading platform, right, where you can trade different types of commodities and things of this nature, right? And so that's pretty much the end of this white paper. So super intriguing, super interesting. Just wanted to go through it real quick for you guys to take a look and see what's going on. You know, while the mass media is telling you to look over here, but you need to look more so over here, right? If you know what I mean. So I hope you guys liked a little bit of that breakdown with that. But let's just move on to the next piece of news. I want to go ahead and cover the Grayscale, right? So Grayscale wins SEC lawsuit for Bitcoin ETF review, right? So the article goes on to read, says crypto asset manager Grayscale Investments has scored a major victory against the United States Securities and Exchange Commission, or SEC, in its efforts to convert its over-the-counter Grayscale Bitcoin Trust, or GBTC, right, into a listed Bitcoin exchange-traded fund. Previously, the SEC rejected its GBTC application on grounds that the products were not designed to prevent fraudulent and manipulative acts of practices. Grayscale subsequently sued, and the decision has been overturned. According to August 29th court filings, U.S. Court of Appeals Circuit Judge Naomi Rao ordered Grayscale's petition for review be granted and SEC's order to deny the GBTC listing application be vacated. Previously, Judge Rao said that the SEC did not offer any explanation as to why Grayscale was in the wrong. However, the order does not guarantee the eventual listing of Grayscale spot Bitcoin ETF, right? And that's the important part to note, right? Even though they won the lawsuit, it doesn't guarantee that they're going to be able to switch over to a spot Bitcoin ETF and be approved, right? And I don't know if you guys know, but all the spot ETFs, the Bitcoin ETFs, they've all been delayed. All of them. WisdomTree, Fidelity, BlackRock, name it. They've all been delayed until sometime in October, right? And so I'll be continuing to cover these news. So stay up to date on this. And yeah, just subscribe, follow, you know, whichever, or if you're watching on YouTube, subscribe. If you're listening on Spotify, then follow along, because I'm going to continue to cover these news, right, and get you the latest updates on all of this, right? And so Michael Sonnenschein, wow, okay, CEO of Grayscale, said on X, formerly Twitter, that its legal team is actively reviewing the court opinion, right? And so the DC Circuit ruled in favor of Grayscale in our lawsuit, challenging the SEC's decision to deny GBTC's conversion to an ETF. So it says here on the 29th of June 2022, the SEC denied Grayscale's application to convert GBTC into a spot ETF. The next day, Grayscale senior legal strategist, former U.S. Solicitor General Donald B. Verrilli Jr. filed a petition to review the United States Court of Appeals for the District of Columbia Circuit. At the time, Sonnenschein said in a statement the firm was deeply disappointed and vehemently disagreed with SEC's decision of denying its application, right? Grayscale Bitcoin Trust is the largest Bitcoin fund traded over the counter with over 14 billion in assets under 14 billion asset management. Earlier in this year, shares of BTC traded at a discount of nearly 50% to net asset value due to firm's then ongoing litigation with SEC and credit concerns regarding its parent digital currency group, so DCG, right? Now, I believe DCG was the group that also owes they owe a lot of money, right? I think they collapsed during last year when a lot of hedge funds and centralized exchanges were collapsing. And I think they owe, if I'm not mistaken, Gemini money too as well. I think they're under a litigation with Gemini, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, I'm not entirely sure. My memory's a little bit fuzzy, but yeah, they're not in really good situation right now in regards to the balance sheets, right? So anyways, the article goes on to read, it says, in October 2022, Grayscale terminated material agreements with its partner and digital currency broker Genesis Global on the November 16, 2022. Genesis Global paused withdrawals, citing unprecedented market turmoil amid the collapse of cryptocurrency exchange FTX. Yeah, so I was right? So again, it says Genesis Global paused withdrawals, citing unprecedented market turmoil amid the collapse of cryptocurrency exchange FTX, right? So the firm was also impacted by the collapse of Singaporean crypto hedge fund Three Arrows Capital. Yeah, I knew they were involved in that too, but I just didn't know to exactly what extent, right? With a $1.2 billion debt owed to Genesis still unpaid. Three Arrows is not going to pay that, by the way. That's not going to ever be paid back to Genesis. So they're probably going to be insolvent. And it says in January 2023, it was disclosed that DCG owes creditors over $3 billion and is considering a $500 million venture capital portfolio sale. Genesis Global owes $900 million alone to users of cryptocurrency exchange Gemini's Earn program. Exactly. So yeah, I was completely right about that too as well. And so that's basically this what this article reads. So it is a win for crypto, but it's not necessarily a super win, because it just means that the SEC has to review Grayscale's application for a Bitcoin ETF like they do with every other major hedge fund that's trying to get in, because as you know, first mover advantage is super important. I think in Canada they have ETFs there too as well, and I think they have, out of all the market share, the hedge fund that got the first mover advantage controls around 80 or 90% of the entire market share. It's something ridiculous like that, right? And that's just to showcase to you how important first mover advantage is. I mean, you see now with Ethereum, right? Ethereum is not the best smart contract protocol in regards to fees and just user friendliness, right? The wallet isn't the greatest in regards to MetaMask, and it's just not the most pleasant layer one smart contract protocol to use, in my opinion, right? Especially because of the fees. And yeah, people are going to layer 2, but that requires a little bit more technical know-how to do that. And the point is first mover advantage is used because ETH controls majority of the DeFi market share, right? In regards to total value locked in within a DeFi ecosystem, right? And they have the biggest network effect because of the first mover advantage. And that's the point I want to make in regards to correlation with how important it is to be the first mover advantage, especially with these ETFs, as investors want a safe haven to be able to distribute capital, air quotations, safely into these air quotations trusted hedge funds, right? So that they don't have to worry about the self-sovereignty aspect of having to control their own assets themselves. They rather the responsibility be on someone else with a level of insurance applied to it on top, right? And that's pretty much how this is going. So it's basically a race to see which hedge fund is going to be able to get the Bitcoin ETF in first, because they're just going to have majority of the market share, period, right? And that's the important piece of news to note in regards to that. You also have ARK Invest too as well. They claim they're going to be the first one to get it. Look, the SEC, I doubt that they will do it anytime within this year. It'll probably be sometime next year that they do approve, because once they approve one, they're all going to get improved, right? They're okay approving the futures, which is even more dangerous because it's not even the actual Bitcoin you're trading. You're trading on the potential future value of it, right? So it's even more dangerous to even do that. But they are approving those, but they just won't approve a spot Bitcoin ETF, and they don't really have a reason. Especially according to the judge, he literally said that they don't have a reason. They're just denying people the right to be able to do things just because, and it's not even making any sense. At least give some kind of justification that actually makes sense. A lot of these laws and a lot of these regulators, they don't really make a lot of sense. because I don't think they truly understand the technology, and they also just don't understand economics and how you stifle innovation. The more barriers there is to entry, right? When you loosen the policies, you entice innovation at a rapid pace, and also the entrepreneurs to be able to feel free to create, and this is important in regards to pushing society forward and also being a first mover, especially in this new Web3 layer 3 of the internet innovation and landscape that's going on now currently. You definitely don't want to be left behind, But anyways, let's move on to the next piece of news, which I want to get to, which is very, very important, I think, for anyone who's looking to launch a crypto project, right? There's these grants, right? That these ecosystems that they offer, right? And this blog is also a very, very good outlet that you can use. I will leave a link in the description for this specifically, right? For those who are interested in grants, you can go out and check it out. This is literally just uploaded a few days ago on the 28th of August, right? In 2023. And it's by Perks. So it says Perks Ultimate Crypto Grants List, everything you need to know, right? And so the article goes on, it says discover crypto grants programs driving blockchain innovation and development, get funded for your ideas and contribute to the future of the blockchain. Why is that important? Well, if you have a really, really good idea, but you don't have the funding, but you have, all the different components that you think you need to be able to put something together, well, you can leverage other people's money through these grants to be able to facilitate the things you need, which is something that I'm going to be looking into as well, because I'm looking to try to launch a project now. I just need the upfront capital. I already have the team, I have the marketing, I have the CTO, I have me, and all I need is the capital to be able to facilitate the thing. So it's very, very important to pay attention to this for people who are really seriously looking to contribute and to build, in these networks to help you build the future of the internet, right? Because this is the layer 3 on top of the Web 2, right, of the internet. But anyways, article goes on to read. It says crypto grant programs are essentially financial incentives offered by blockchain and cryptocurrency organizations to encourage innovation and development within their ecosystems. These grants are typically awarded to individuals or teams that propose projects which align with the company's goals and contribute to the growth and development of their platform. The grants can be used for a variety of purposes, such as developing new features, improving existing ones, conducting research, creating educational content, or fostering community growth, right? The amount of funding provided can vary greatly depending on the scope of the project and the resources required. Companies promoting grant programs as of now, numerous companies in the blockchain and cryptocurrency space are offering grant programs. Here are some of them. So we'll just scroll down too. We won't get too much into all of them, but I'll just read them off to you to see if any of these ecosystems ring a bell and are, something that you would maybe potentially like to do. But you see here Uniswap, we have Gitcoin, we have Solana, Angel Block, they're providing up to $15,000 per project, dollars, right? Aave, we have MakerDAO, Ethereum, Chainlink, Filecoin, Kraken awards quarterly open source developer grants for project that contributes to the cryptocurrency ecosystem. I wonder, but that's something I'll look into probably later. But Bloom as well, for the Oasis blockchain. I think that's a privacy blockchain, if I'm not mistaken. You have Nervous, then you have Nexus Mutual. We don't really know them much. Then you have the Avalanche ecosystem, of course. And then you have Polkadot, Flow, and then which is, I think, a gaming. Yeah, they're more for the gaming ecosystem. OX. Then you have Algorand, Compound, Mina, Ocean DAO, OKX Coin. Interesting. OKX Coin's grant program supports open source development of the Bitcoin network. That's freaking interesting. I wonder. That's interesting as hell. Okay. Then you have Binance Smart Chain, as well. So you have a couple, like 3 exchange 3 exchange programs, like centralized exchange programs that I'm looking into for these grants, which is interesting. Then you have consensus grants too as well. Cardano has a Kickstarter program, supports developers in early stage projects, teams contributing to the blockchain ecosystem worldwide. You have Interchain as well, Cadena, Stacks, Zcash, Tezos, Audius, which is interesting. It's a streaming platform too as well. And Harmony has it too as well. Scale and M Stable. So yeah, that's pretty much everything you need to know in regards to that. Yeah, and then we can move on to the next piece of news as well. If you look again, there's just more grants. So this is web3grants.net. Again, I will go ahead and leave links for this for those who are interested, in looking at this type of stuff. They have a lot more here. You can see Alchemy developer grants. They also have Arweave. We were talking about Avalanche, Alexer, long hash program too as well, which I've recently applied for, but I don't think I got approved. But then they have Bouncer grants. They have Binance X, Cello Community Fund as well. And I skipped over the Catalyst too as well, which is Cardano, right? And then when we continue to go, we can see the Chainlink support of community and development. You have Compound, which we already talked about. Chronos ecosystem also has grants. Phantom, Filecoin, right? Flow, which we talked about. Then they also have FTX. FTX? What the hell? We want to fund projects with clear answers to the question, how will this project improve humanity's odds of surviving and flourishing for thousands of... That is insane that FTX has a grant. I find that hilarious. But anyways, you can just say, like I said, you have Immutable Fund too as well for the layer 2 protocol on top of Ethereum. So that one, they have Mina, a bunch of different ones, right, that you can go and check and look into as well. So you guys should definitely look into that if you're very much interested in contributing into these ecosystems and the future of the internet. It needs, entrepreneurs, brilliant minds. I'm trying my best to contribute as well. And do the hard work to make the world a better place and to change the way things are done, right? And to find, workarounds and really back out solutions to be able to create and innovate, and make things more accessible and inclusive for the future of the world, right? So anyways, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this one, man. I'll see you guys in the next one, and peace.